Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business. We've designed this TV show to educate you in simple to understand plain English ways for complex legal terms, to help you understand why you undertake certain legal aspects of your business, and to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? And that is the average time that it takes for a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? And do you feel like there's a divide between lawyers and their clients? If that's so, then this TV show is for you. We've designed the show to empower you and your business with the knowledge and tools to help ensure that those problems that so many businesses encounter don't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show to give you some actionable steps to consider for this week in your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show. It's generally between 30 minutes to an hour to go through the complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand and plain English way. That can be through educational pieces or interviews with experts in the fields. We welcome you to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, and here's our show.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jeremy Stretton, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV's Fast Fix Monday. With me is Craig Mason.
Afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
And today, Fast Fix Monday, we're going to talk about the differences between franchising and licensing. And you might wonder why we're actually doing that. And I thought I'd just give a quick brief beforehand. And the reason for it is it's an important distinction that you understand in your business. So what we're talking about here in this month is the month of expansion. And one of the key ways to expand your business is to either franchise or license your intellectual property. So it's important to understand that there is a difference, and that difference it is a technical legal one, but it is important because there are some consequences which we'll go through at the end. Now, you've probably heard different people in your business and in your business life talk about franchising and licensing and how they did this and how they got away with that. This is a really specialized area of the law. You need to make sure that you get good advice from people that actually understand what they're doing. So today we're going to give you a brief understanding of what franchising and licensing are, and what the differences can entail. So without any further ado, Craig, do you want to kick off with franchising?
Yep. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, so franchising. So that's a way of scaling a business that is successful and proven. We've all heard of franchises. McDonald's is probably the main example that we've all come across, whether we're in Australia or any other country. They sort of started the franchise model. So the idea is when you're starting out and creating a franchise, you need to find other franchisees out there with obviously the relevant skills and those sorts of things to be able to operate the business, the franchise, as another branch of your business. So you want to, as we've discussed previously, do a bit of due diligence about who you're going to grant a franchise to. You don't just do it to anyone. There is a process where you want to make sure you've got the right sort of people involved. And as we know, it's basically a replication of the existing business using the intellectual property, those sorts of things. So the franchisor controls the brand and the model, maintains a fair bit of control, obviously, around that because that's the business, how it's run, those sorts of things. And we've spoken about it previously, and there's a manual available, a sample one, at businesslegallifecycle.com.au/operations-manual. And we encourage anyone that's thinking about doing a franchise, have a look at the manual, because that's sort of the first thing you need to sit down and work out. There's a number of things in there that you need to consider before you head out and start scaling your business by way of a franchise. So there's the manual. Obviously, there's going to be training involved that you need to give to a franchisee as a franchisor. So you don't just say, here you go, give me the franchise fees and off you trundle. There are some training that needs to be involved. You will be responsible for marketing and those sorts of things, and there might be fees from the franchisee payable to you. There's the other resources, the skills, those sorts of things. And all of this is controlled by the Franchising Code of Conduct, which is a lengthy document that if you're going to do this, have a read through of it. Check out the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission website, those sorts of things as well. That's got all the information about franchises. So you've got to be wary of the fact that there is a code of conduct that governs all of these sorts of things, and it's both the franchisor and the franchisee that's involved in the franchising code of conduct. And we'll speak about, or Jeremy will outline when we talk about licensing. Within the code of conduct, there are clauses in there about if you're breaching the code of conduct. One of them might be by actually conducting a franchise without having a franchise agreement. There are penalties. So it's a pretty important document to be aware of. So they're the sort of keys to a franchise. Obviously, the franchisee puts in essentially the initial capital to set up the franchise. It does help promote the brand because now you've got an identical business, obviously in a different location, so you're expanding it out that way. And the franchisee will obviously pay license fees or some form of royalty fees each month or whatever period it is in your franchise agreement. So that's what a franchise is. It is definitely a way to expand your business, but there is a bit of groundwork that you need to do before you sort of run out and start franchising.
Great. So I'll talk about licensing. So licensing is where you basically grant someone the use of your intellectual property without much control over that. So think of, if you're sitting at your computer watching this, or if you're listening to us on the on iTunes or on the podcast, if you're sitting at the computer, you might have Microsoft Word open, and that's a classic example of a license. Whereas a Apple, when you use your Apple phone or your Google Plus phone or whatever it is, you're licensed to use the software on that phone. So that's what a license is. Brand licensing is really what we're talking about here, and it's where people try to get around using a franchise. And it's pretty hard to do because, as Craig said, there's this thing called the Franchising Code of Conduct. And what it says is it sets out when someone's licensed the use of intellectual property to another party and when that actually is a license. So if you're going to license intellectual property to someone, this is the test essentially to say that you're a franchise. If you give someone a system and a marketing plan that you substantially control or suggest, if you let them use the trademark or advertising or commercial system used for their business, and if they pay you a fee, as Craig said before, there's lots of different fees. There's a capital investment fee, there can be payment for goods and services, there can be royalty fees, there can be training fees. Some things that are specifically excluded are things like wholesale goods and services and other wholesale products. If you're doing any of those things though, you're probably a franchise, so you have to be really careful not to try and use a license just to get around a franchise. And so the legislation has been drafted in a very broad sense, so you need to be really careful that you don't actually fall foul of that and have a license that's actually a franchise. So Craig, did you want to just conclude and just talk about why the distinction is important, just to give people a bit of an idea about what they could be up for? It appears we've lost Craig. That's a shame. Anyway, I'll conclude. Basically, the distinction is important because there's a code and it can be tempting to try and get around it and not to use a franchising code of conduct. It is more costly to use a franchise. A license can be a lot cheaper, but it appears that it's a lot simpler and saves you a lot of money in the long run if that's what you do. There can also be severe penalties. So if you're a franchisor and you're trying to use a franchise system as a license, the courts can actually give you hefty penalties. And also, you can also let the buyer out of the contract. So if you've got a license agreement that's really a franchise, then you can actually, by having the wrong type of contract, let the franchise out. So look, thank you very much for joining us on Fast Fix Monday. If you've got any questions, please feel free to message us on Facebook or send us an email at lifecycle@jeremystratton.com, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'm sure Craig says the same thing. Thank you. Bye.